Hello and welcome back. This week's Raw Prawn episode is part 2 of the alternate Zeppelin series, where we take a twisted look at the history of the band. On today's episode, we start with the first US tour, promoting the debut album, and conclude with the recording of the live Royal Albert Hall double LP. So, without further ado, let's get stuck into it. After releasing their self-titled debut album in 1969, Led Zeppelin embarked on an exhaustive touring campaign to promote their album. The shows were a great success. The US tour that began on the 26th of December 1968 and ended on the 16th of February 1969 was an important step for the band. It not only enabled them to introduce themselves to music fans, but got the much-needed attention of their new record company and promoters as well. Before heading on tour in the US, Grant had to generate some buzz for the band. He sent advance copies of their debut album to influential FM radio station and officially released it on the 12th of January, which was practically midway through the tour. At the start of the tour, Led Zeppelin opened for groups like Vanilla Fudge, Iron Butterfly, both of which were signed to Atlantic Records. However, as the tour progressed, it became apparent that Led Zeppelin was easily outshining the headline acts. Beck stated, "3/4 of the way through the tour we were headlining because no one wanted to go on after us." After this initial tour, the band had only 2 weeks off before engaging on the next, which was a tour of the United Kingdom and Scandinavia. The tour commenced on the 1st of March and concluded on the 17th of April. The debut album was belatedly released in the United Kingdom partway through this tour in late March 1969. The summer US tour would be the last for Jeff Beck with Led Zeppelin. Beck was tiring of the constant touring, which wasn't going to end anytime soon. In fact, it was only going to ramp up, with a second album planned for September and October that year. Although disappointed by Beck's decision, Page and the band held no animosity, as they could see Beck struggling with the demands of the touring schedule. What was a more pressing matter was Terry Reid's announcement that he would also be leaving, again due to touring commitments, and a desire to return to his solo career, where he could perform his own style of music and free of band constraints. This did not go down as well with the band, as they thought Reid was happy with the hard-edged style of improvised music being produced at gigs across the UK and US. Ultimately, Reid agreed to do one last US tour in the summer of 1969, while the band scrambled to find a new singer to replace him. With the loss of 2 band members in a short space of time, Page's vision might have seemed to have been derailed. Jones remembered, "We had a band meeting to decide what action to take, whether it was cancel the upcoming tour and look for a singer, or do the tour with Terry and look for a replacement." Page stated, "Bonzo had a smirk on his face for the whole meeting, then proudly announced, 'I know a guy.' That guy would turn out to be Robert Plant, a 20-year-old singer, ex-bandmate and friend of Bonham. The band travelled down to the West Midlands to take a look at him. We walked into this pub and he was belting out a rendition of the Small Faces, 'You Need Love.' I just thought, this guy has everything, the look, the voice and stage presence." "What's wrong with him?" Page mused. They had their man and travelled back to London for rehearsals. The original plan was to use Reid for the upcoming North American tour, while they got Plant up to speed on the songs and arrangements, but alas, no need, as Plant had everything covered after the first week of rehearsals. So, with the proper press releases and paperwork from manager Grant, Zeppelin were ready to fly to the States. The 1969 tour and the now 21-year-old plant exceeded all expectations. Venues were sold out and extra nights added to try and keep up with the demand, coming mainly from word of mouth. Extended songs and improvisations were the breeding grounds for new ideas, and it wasn't long before the band and manager were eager to get back into the studio and record the second album. This started roughly 2 weeks into the tour, and by the end, no fewer than 6 studios were used as the band were travelling. As Page stated in a 1972 interview, it wasn't an ideal way to write and record a new album, but it worked. We were playing and improvising every night, so some of the ideas put on tape were very fresh and exciting. Led Zeppelin 2 was released in late 1969 and quickly shot up the album charts. Record stores just couldn't keep the albums on the shelves. The album, produced by Jimmy Page and engineered by Eddie Kramer, fresh from recording Hendrix, sold 3 million copies in 6 months, and December that year knocked the Beatles' Abbey Road off the #1 spot. Led Zeppelin's touring didn't slow down, with further tours of the UK, US, Japan and Australia, with another album produced in late 1970. You guessed it, this one was called Led Zeppelin 3. This album is often regarded and debated as their finest, with stronger and more diverse tunes. Recorded at a country residence named Headley Grange, the informal setting inspired the band, allowing them to try different arrangements of material and create songs in various styles. It was again produced by Page and engineered by Andy Johns using the Rolling Stones mobile recording truck. The album ranges from gentle folk to blistering blues-based rock. Led Zeppelin 3 went straight to #1 in the UK and US charts. At one point it was ranked as one of the top 5 best-selling albums of all time, with more than 37 million copies sold as of 2014. As of 2021, it is tied for 5th highest certified album in the US by the Recording Industry Association of America at 24 times platinum. After a solid 6 months of touring and promoting the third album, the band took a well-deserved break mid-1971. As to counter several bootleg recordings of concerts throughout the US, manager Grant and the record company were eager to release a live album. Several shows were officially recorded, and the September 3rd show at the Royal Albert Hall was chosen to be released while the band were off the road. The Royal Albert Hall Live double LP is a diverse mixture of songs from their first 3 albums. The album also sold well and remains a band favourite.